Good evening, one and all. We welcome you all to the International Webinar Series on Holistic Health, Well-being and Sustainable Development, 2015 to 2030, United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and India's G20 Presidency and United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. In collaboration with Sri Holistic Health Foundation India and Sri Research Institute Center for Art Sciences and Wellbeing. Before we start our sessions, let's take the blessings of Almighty.
कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः
The blessings of Almighty, we shall continue with today's sessions. Today, we are commemorating two important events at an international level. One is World Snakes Day, which was supposed to be commemorated yesterday, but as we didn't get much time, so we are doing today commemorations. And apart from that, we have today's commemorations. So we will just go by one. We'll initially take up today's commemorations, and as per the availability time, we'll be taking up other commemorations. So most importantly, today we have International World Day for International Justice. It is also known as International Justice Day or International Justice of International Criminal Justice, and it is known by different names actually. So this was started on July 17th as part of an effort to recognize the system of international justice. So these celebrations and commemoration highlight how international justice tribunals and courts have brought and continue to bring justice for the victims of war crimes and crimes against humanity. It also commemorates the day Rome Statute was adopted globally and ensures member nations of the International Criminal Court live up to their expectations. Over the centuries, the world has been seen new boundaries, new frontiers, and new challenges. Alliances were made and broken. Wars broke out, people committed unspeakable acts against fellow men and women and children. The world felt the need for international justice. Out of this need arose the Nuremberg trials, which may regard as a milestone in establishing a permanent international court. A series of 13 trials were carried out in Nuremberg, Germany, after the Second World War to bring Nazi war criminals to justice. The defendants among them, Nazi party officials and high-ranking military officers, German industrialists, lawyers, and doctors were included and indicted on charges of crimes against peace and crimes against humanity. One of the first times anyone had been prosecuted for crimes against humanity, the Nuremberg trials were controversial at that time. Another landmark trial around the same time was the Tokyo trial and the Tokyo War Crimes Tribunal, and formerly as the International Military Tribunal for Far East, tried and convicted leaders of the Empire of Japan for joint conspiracy to start and wage war, conventional war crimes, and crimes against humanity. A treaty to prosecute the accused of serious crimes internationally was proposed before a diplomatic conference on Rome, Italy, on June 17, 1998. So a treaty to prosecute those accused of serious crimes internationally was proposed before a diplomatic conference in Rome, Italy on July 17, 1998. In the front of the United Nations, adopted as Rome Statute by 120 states, this treaty led to the establishment of International Criminal Court in 2002. The ICC is a permanent court that can investigate and prosecute people suspected of committing genocide, crimes against humanity, war crimes, and since 2018, the crime of aggression in situations where national authorities are able to unwillingly to act genuinely. The ICC cannot, however, replace national courts. At a review conference of the Rome Statute held in Kampala, Uganda in 2010, the Assembly of Statute Parties decided to celebrate the day adopted the treaty June 17th as the World Day for International Justice. So the victorious Allied governments established an international military tribunal in Nuremberg, Germany to bring justice to the perpetrators of World War II. Major Nazi war criminals are indicted in between 1945 and 1949, known as the Nuremberg trials. An international military tribunal for the Far East, IMTFE, is created in Tokyo, Japan, to punish major criminals in the Far East on April 29, 1946. 120 states adopt the treaty known as Rome Statute, thus informally establishing the International Court on July 17, 1998. So 60 countries ratified the Rome Statute, making the International Criminal Court official on July 1st, 2002. The Assembly of State Parties decided to celebrate the day the Rome Statute was adopted as the World Day for International Justice, and thus this day is born on June 1st, 2010. The Congolese criminal warlord Thomas Lubanga Diallo is the first person to be convicted and sentenced by the ICC. He is sentenced to 14 years in prison on July 10, 2012. So some of the crimes against humanity entail extermination, murder, enslavement, torture, unfair imprisonment, rape, forced abortions, and other sexual violence, persecution on political, religious, racial, and gender grounds, the forcible transfer of populations, the enforced disappearance of people, and the inhuman act of knowing causing prolonged starvation. So international justice means ensuring accountability for some of the most serious crimes, genocide crimes against humanity, war crimes, torture, and enforced disappearances. ICC is not part of UN. The court was established by the Rome Statute. This treaty was negotiated with the UN. However, it created an independent judicial body distinct from the UN. The Rome Statute was the outcome of a long process of consideration of the question of international criminal law within the UN. So remember the victims. Lives everywhere had been touched by the wars in the history, and some face injustice even today. Learn whatever you can about the victims, those fighting for justice. Show solidarity by acknowledging their fight and doing what you can to support them in their cause. You can even write an article or blog to highlight these people and their efforts. Member countries organize events in support of World Day for International Justice and also to support the International Criminal Court. Some of these are also broadcast online on television or even on the radio. You can visit various resources online and offline to find out how to attend. Similarly, like this. So one of the goals of this day is to bring together all those who fight against injustice and those who promote victims' rights, research, non-governmental organizations working for justice-related causes like preventing violence against women, protecting human rights, etc., and considering donating or volunteering your talents. The ICC acknowledges 6 languages as its official languages: English, French, Arabic, Chinese, Russian, and Spanish, and is truly a multilingual. The ICC headquarters is situated in the Netherlands at The Hague, is the global headquarters. And since its establishment, 139 countries have signed the court's treaty and nearly 80 states have ratified it. And since its inception, the ICC has completed 200 trials for unspeakable crimes. The ICC website states that 35 arrest warrants have been issued so far, and 17 people have been detained by the court for their crimes. So this day promotes justice. Multiple communities, countries, and organizations came together to provide redressal for grievous crimes and in process provide some measure of closure for the victims of these crimes. The International Court has done much for preserving international justice, and we are all for doing anything we can to support system. This day gives us chance to acknowledge the crimes and do our bit to pay our respect to the court system that addresses and thus helps to deter humanity's worst crimes. People should never have to fear for their safety or their lives or their dignity to be threatened. If such fortuitous instances do occur, this is heartening to know that an international court can advocate for fair litigation. This day reminds us that there are more and more people fighting for justice and safety each day. Today is also commemorated as World Emoji Day. Communication in the internet age now goes far beyond pressing sending on a simple text message. We are using emojis to send words, phrases, and to communicate and to express our feelings and emotions in the form of emojis. Check your social media feeds or text messages. How many smiley faces, flying hearts, avocados, unicorns do you see? These iconic little Japanese images known as emoji are more popular on the internet today than ever before. So naturally, their own special day. So recognized on July 17th, World Emoji Day, is a day that validates our obsession over these ubiquitous graphic icons. While sometimes they may seem silly, according to various psychologists and researchers, they may play a vital role in the way we communicate today. In fact, Oxford Dictionary's word of the year for the 2015 was the emoji. Light up your friends' phones with the emojis you want today, and it is a healthy obsession. So the New York Times is responsible for the first use of an emoticon when they misprint a transcribed copy of President Abraham Lincoln's speech. So it was a great accident in 1862. The first international use of emoticons is published by the American satirical magazine Puck on March 30, 1881. So AIM introduces its buddy icons, small images or icons conveying feelings. In May 1997. And the first emoji is created by Japanese artist Shigetaka Kurita in 1919. Thus, emojis are created since then. And Unicode adopts emojis, adding new ones such as cat faces, thus expanding emoji in 2010. And 198 flags are added to the emoji selection in 2014. So, on this day, challenge your emoji knowledge by having an emoji-filled message stream with your best friend. See how well you can understand each other using only these delightful icons. And you can turn your favorite photos into shareable emojis using various apps and online tools. You can finally turn your favorite photo of your dog or cat into an emoji. Since we already know you sent too many pictures of them anyway, create your own customized emoji-filled t-shirt or any items that can display, and your favorite emoji can become your new favorite t-shirt or favorite pen, bag, or anything similar to that. And now they have become a universal language. Language comes in many forms, and one of the most ancient types of language is visual symbols. Emojis are unique in that they are visual symbols that help enhance our written language. They replace words or whole phrases and still be understood. Emojis were originally created as a way to symbolize emotions with pictures. Similar to punctuation, they express emotion through irony or humor and even suggest tone of voice or body language in the text communication. They trigger emotional responses in the people, which can cause to be more empathetic. Basically, as we become better in identifying our emotions, we also become better at sensing others' emotions. Look like emoji emotional empathy is trending. Emojis help us better understand something visually when things can get lost in the translation through words. In the internet age, they help us communicate better and faster. So let's admit it, they are cute and kind of addicting to use, but they serve a much greater purpose. They improve our capacity to communicate effectively with others and make our intended meaning to be known. When in doubt, emoji is out. Today is also commemorated as Global Hug Your Kids Day, which is celebrated on third Monday of every July. This year, on July 17th, celebrates the bond between parents and children. The purpose of this day is simple. Hug your children to express how much you love them, and hugging is a simple act of reassuring comfort, safety, and trust. Everyone can do with a hug, especially with children. And when you hug your kids, you realize that it makes you happy too. A natural expression of love and stress reliever. Don't forget to wrap your kids in your bear hug today. Hugging is probably as ancient as humans themselves. It is practiced by almost all cultures as an act of affection and empathy without using words. People hug to convey a myriad of messages, some of which include a greeting or a goodbye, to express sympathy or to congratulate and to convey gratitude, support, and affection. The word hug might have originated from hugga, an Old Norse word. It means to comfort. In the early 17th century, hug was used to describe a wrestling hold. The current meaning of the word came into existence sometime in the 1650. This is all in the context of Western. But we have seen even in Mahabharata, Ramayana, in ancient scriptures, which are thousands and thousands of years old, we also see the mention of hugging as a gesture of invitation and as a gesture of passion, love, compassion, and various other contexts. So hugging is good for your health. It releases a hormone called oxytocin into the bloodstream. Oxytocin is produced in the pituitary gland. It helps regulate blood pressure, heart rate, and the stress hormone cortisol. Hugging may also reduce anxiety, improve mood and memory, and increase bonding and closeness. Studies show that those who hug often tend to have greater empathy for others. Hugging a kid can boost their oxygen levels, calm breathing, and ease pain signals. It may also help the brain to grow and make affection and other illness like hypoglycemia or hypothermia less likely. So we have seen similar incidents of hugging also in social cause movements like the Chipko movement. Activists hug trees in order to protect them from felling in 1973. And Kevin Zaborny introduces National Hugging Day in America in 1986. And the movie Baymax shows Who Loves to Hug, Big Hero 6 in 2016. And Anthony Anderson and Darius Rucker had set the record for the most hugs given in a minute, that is 138 hugs in 2019. So hugging releases a hormone called oxytocin, which makes happy, feel relaxed and safe. So it's a good thing to practice. But a caution here is only do not hug forcefully anyone. Those who are volunteering to come forward to receive a hug or to give a hug voluntarily, kindly go ahead, proceed with the hug. Otherwise, hugging also causes a lot of traumatic experiences. We have seen PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, when someone, those who do not want to get hugged have been after being hugged by them. And, we have seen also many times hugging as an act of, creating pain. And we have seen some instances of killing people or hurting people while hugging. So the art of hugging should be learned so that we do not harm, we do not behave in an indecent manner or an abusive manner, especially with the ones who doesn't like to be hugged. So this week is also commemorated as Hemp History Week in US, the largest educational campaign about the hemp in US, now rebranded as Hemp Week, is an initiative by Hemp Industries Association as a non-profit trade group comprising hemp companies, researchers, farmers, and supporters to educate the public about the positive impacts of fiber and oilseed crop and to raise support to farm, process, and produce the renewable raw material across the US. Though this is also misused, but basically hemp was used as a food source. especially the Christians era, and mostly the Christians, because those countries are most of Christians. They saw this crop being cultivated in the Mediterranean countries of Europe, and from there it gradually spread throughout this continent. The uses of hemp became more varied. The Chinese used it as paper. Its seeds were used to make lamp oil and paint, and it was even used to make linen. By 16th century, hemp found its way to North America. Many of the American founding fathers even advocated for this crop benefits at this time. Around the 19th century, taxes were imposed on the cultivation of hemp, although this was briefly lifted during the Second World War as they needed the crop to produce various items. In fact, the US government released a pro-hemp documentary, Hemp for Victory, encouraging farmers to grow hemp to support the war. The US Department of Agriculture also promoted hemp during this time, and also these efforts led to 4 lakh hectares of hemp being planted throughout the Midwest and Southeast of the US. After the war, multiple countries, including the US, banned cannabis without any distinction between hemp and marijuana, which greatly prevented research and production of this crop. So now even cultivation of hemp is also prohibited, even in India, only except with the permission of government for various purposes. Only pre-approved farmers can cultivate after obtaining necessary permission in designated areas. And they cannot sell it in the open markets. They will be procured by the government departments for producing medicine and various other purposes in very limited quantity. And cultivation for non-drug related purposes was allowed a few years later in the US. However, hemp industry began to show signs of major decline by the 20th century as modern machines and artificially produced fibers were introduced. Under President Obama, hemp took on more meaning as the government passed a bill distinguishing hemp from marijuana and legalizing the cultivation of hemp. For industrial purposes. The history of Hemp Week began almost 11 years ago when the Hemp Industries Association and Vote Hemp decided to celebrate America's rich history with the industrial uses of the crop and spread awareness about it. This week is also commemorated as Coral Reef Awareness Week, starting on Monday of the third full week in July, as same as Hemp Week, to raise awareness of coral reefs and how to maintain them. Coral reefs are one of the most diverse and important elements of the Earth ecosystem, but there are threats that coral reefs are facing, including climate change and tourism. Tourism can affect coral reefs when they are poorly planned, hotel developments, and increased sewage. So this week is for all of us to learn more about coral reefs and how we can help maintain and protect these amazing and diverse ecosystems. Coral reefs are marine ecosystems built in tiny individual coral polyps held together by calcium carbonate. As diverse and complex ecosystems, coral reefs occupy less than 0.1% of the world's ocean area, and at least 25% of all marine species call coral reefs home. Reef-building corals need sunlight to survive, so they are commonly found in a relatively shallow, clear water in tropics and warm currents. Beside those who call them home, coral reefs also attract larger animals such as sharks, turtles, and marine mammals due to their abundance of food. Besides providing habitat for marine species, coral reefs also serve as a barrier for coastal areas. Shorelines will be less protected from waves and norms without coral reefs as a barrier. Coral reefs help protect people living in these areas, along with wildlife relying on a shoreline as habitat. As coral reefs support the economy, including fishing, tourism, and recreation industries, moreover, creatures found in these ecosystems are essential sources of new medicines. It seems that the coral reefs are of the essence of both marine and human life. Unfortunately, there are some threats that coral reefs are facing. They include climate change, pollution, overfishing, tourism, and unsustainable development. Coastal development, including corals, cannot survive if the water temperature is too high. While urban and industrial waste, oil pollution, and agrochemicals can destroy coral reefs. Overfishing and destructive fishing practices surely cause significant damage to the coral reefs. In the sector of tourism, there can be careless anchoring, fishing, diving that can damage coral reefs. Beside tourism, leads to coastal development, and poor coastal development and increased sewage can affect coral reefs. So it is said that estimates predict nearly all the coral reefs will be threatened, with 75% facing high, very high, or critical threat levels by 2050. So increased ocean temperatures and changing ocean chemistry are the greatest global threats to the coral reef ecosystems, caused by warmer atmospheric temperature and increasing levels of carbon dioxide in seawater. So diving to admire the beauty of coral reefs is one of the various ways to commemorate this week. So this can be, unless we have, unless and until we are careful, and be careful to bring a dive bag and be sure to pick any garbage you come across and help clean the oceans, it is going to be a messy thing. Coral Reefs Week can be a starter for you to eat sustainably. So next time you want to enjoy some seafood, make sure it comes from a sustainable source. The more people know about the Awareness Week, the more help there will be to protect coral reefs. So more people will realize that coral reefs are essential for human beings. Coral reefs are not plants but invertebrates with the class Anthozoa of the phylum Cnidaria. Generally, corals grow slowly, increasing only 0.5 to 2 centimeters in a year. The algae that coral reefs host are what makes the reefs colorful. Coral reefs feed on particles found in the ocean, resulting in clear water. Most coral reefs are found in tropical waters, but they are also found in waters with a temperature of 39.2 degrees Fahrenheit. Coral reefs are not only essential to marine life, but also human life. That's why more people need to know more about coral reefs so that we can help maintain together. Coral reefs are beautiful and they are home to many species. Coral Reef Awareness Week minds of how amazing they are and that coral reefs are worthy protecting. It is believed that the coral reef dwelling animals are a vital source of novel medications. Therefore, we must take all the necessary precautions to keep them safe. So this week, this month is also commemorated as South Asian Heritage Month to honor, recognize, and appreciate South Asian history and culture, as well as to comprehend the rich cultural legacy of countries and South Asia. It is a month-long celebration of the existing and legacy of individuals with origins in the South Asian countries of Afghanistan, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Bhutan, and the Maldives. So this month, South Asian Heritage Month, was established to honor, mark, and appreciate South Asian history and culture, as well as to better comprehend the various heritage of countries and South Asia. Comprised of 8 countries, South Asia is made up of namely Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Maldives, Nepal, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka. The goal of South Asian Heritage Month is to help South Asians regain their support, their heritage, and sense of self. Everyone has the right to share their tales, and this is an opportunity to demonstrate what it means to the South Asian in the 21st century, while simultaneously looking back in the time for clues how their beloved country became the diverse country it is now. It is possible to see influences from South Asia in almost every aspect of modern life, from food and clothing to entertainment and even vocabulary. The colors, sights, and sounds of proud South Asian identify abound on the streets of many towns and cities as well as countries. Creating a visual feast for the eyes and ears. Its culture permeates all aspects of life and contributes to the country's cultural richness. South Asian Heritage Month strives to improve these aspects of how people engage with South Asian cultures and identities, education, awareness, and participation. Arts, culture, and legacy are celebrated throughout the month, as well as the commemoration of historical events and celebrations. So today is also commemorated as Wrong Way Corrigan Day in US. One pilot and his legendary flight can inspire millions, and that is exactly what Wrong Way Corrigan Day is celebrating. This day marks the transatlantic flight of stunt pilot Douglas Corrigan, who flew his plane on an unauthorized flight from New York to Ireland. He famously claimed he went the wrong way, hence his nickname, Wrong Way Corrigan. He was born to a construction engineering and a teacher who divorced early on, and the family settled in Los Angeles, and Corrigan would later quit high school to work in construction. His love affair with airplanes began in 20th century. In 1925, he saw people paying money to be taken on short sightseeing rides in Curtis's JN4, Jenny biplane, in a field close to his home. Of course, then 18 years old had to go up too. He had paid $2.5 fee for his ride and spent 10 minutes up in the air. A week later, he was taking flying lessons, spending his other free time watching and learning from local aircraft mechanics. Within a short while, in 1926, he began making solo flights too. So Corrigan hero worshipped Charles Lindbergh and took inspiration from his idol's transatlantic flight, petitioning authorities for his very own transatlantic flight. He requested the permission from the Bureau of Air Commerce to fly from New York to Ireland, but he was denied this. Corrigan was determined, however, a few years after his flight plan was denied, he flew non-stop from his home in Long Beach, California, to Brooklyn, New York. Instead of going back to California, he wanted to duplicate Charles Lindbergh's trip and fly to Ireland. The authorities were still not convinced, though, as they thought this plane, a 1929 Curtiss Robin aircraft that he rebuilt and modified, would not last the journey. He was denied permission for this trip once again. On July 17, 1938, Corrigan reportedly told officials he was heading back to California. As he later said, the cloud never prevented him from accurate navigation, and when it finally cleared, he found himself over the water. He continued on his journey in the hopes of landing, and 28 hours later reached Dublin, Ireland. He famously exclaimed, "Just got in from New York, where am I?" So the story and subsequent notoriety earned him the sobriquet Wrong Way. Many consider his navigational error as deliberate, and he was a skilled mechanic, and the flight was his dream. Nevertheless, he stuck to his story, and officials gave him a mild punishment. His pilot certificate was suspended for 14 days his return to New York via ship was marked a huge celebration. Corrigan wrote his own account of flight, still sticking to his story in an autobiography only months after his flight. He went on to ink a movie deal and played himself the Flying Irishman in 1939. He earned $75,000 for this movie, equivalent to 30 years' income at his airfield jobs. When World War II came around, he tested bombers and flew in the Ferry Command, a division of the Airport Air Transport Command. He toured the country after the war ended with another war heroes in the parades. Corrigan went on to settle down to a quiet life with his wife and family, even retiring from aviation and buying an 18-acre, 7.3-hectare orange grove in Santa Ana, California. While he admitted to knowing nothing about growing oranges, he said he learned by copying his neighbors. On the 49th anniversary of his flight, when Corrigan was 80 years old, he was honored with a parade in Long Island, and the celebration was given the name Wrong Way Corrigan Day. So his hometown also began celebrating this day a few years later until it became national-wide celebration today. So this was the story of this commemoration today. And today is also commemorated at President's Day in Botswana. It was the first celebrated as a 2-day holiday, but later changed to a single day. As it is one of the few countries that dedicate a national holiday to the head of the state, this is a celebration of rich culture of Botswana and its history. Today is also commemorated as National Tattoo Day in US. It is an art of inserting pigment under the dermis layer of the skin to create decorative symbol or pictorial design. So we set some time aside to learn more about tattooing process and its societal importance and history. If you don't have a tattoo, you are likely to know someone who does. If you have asked them how they knew at the time when they were getting ink, whether they would still want that design on their skin years or decades later, or you might have just gotten a peculiar look instead of an explanation. There is certainly a fraternal connection between people who bear tattoos, a connection those without ink can never really understand. We asked one correspondent to try to address this phenomenon, and he said, tattoos begin as a ceremony, and they are still kind of that. Once you are under an artist's needle, it is a little like a religious experience. It's like the aha moment people like about having in business life. It eliminates something you didn't see before. Though it is though this day, National Tattoo Day, was celebrated from past few years, but the art of tattooing has been around from millennia. Even we see, actually, before tattooing, we had this mehndi, which generally now it is more popular with women, but earlier it was more common with men and women. And it was used for various purposes, for medicinal purposes, for therapy, and also to color. And later on, it was also used to color the body parts and also the hair. And so many uses came on since thereon. Generally, this tattooing was more in indigenous tribes because they painted individuals, sometimes abducted from their native countries and put on public display. So European abductors collected money for each viewing. And tattooing as a business, the first tattoo shop to open in the US belonged to Martin Hildebrand, who started his business in New York City in 1846 and was sought after by the Union and Confederate soldiers alike. By 1971, there was still only 40 tattoo artists operating in the US. But by 1980, the number had ballooned to 5,000. Today, tattoo shops are in every city and medium-sized town in the country. And on July 17th, we honor their proprietors' contribution to American culture. So you might have doubt that which is the best time to get a tattoo after you have decided to get a tattoo. So being in mid-July, many experts recommended this season, since during summer months, your skin is rougher from wind, sun, and activity, that you get your ink during the winter for a smoother surface. So winter is best time than summer. And how much this tattoo cost? Generally, this is an area where you really need to get what you pay for, meaning the more you spend, the better quality image you will get. A word to the wise is never haggle over the price a tattoo artist quotes. It is considered disrespectful to their craft. And there's a common and the erroneous idea that under the needle, you will be gritting your teeth and trying not to scream or cry. On the contrary, the feeling is hot and scratchy, but the pain level is certainly manageable. Those who are not sensitive to pain. So it's a perfect day to plunge if you have been thinking about getting body art. And don't, generally we see many people, in fact, in online communities also, we keep interacting as part of counseling. People do contact. Many times even I also came across some people in counseling. When we are doing counseling sessions, some people, they just at the purge of the moment or the impulse of moment, they got tattered and later on, they regretted why I have put this symbol or at this place or with this color and all those things, because it is more or less like a permanent color, permanent thing. Though there are temporary tattooing, methods. But when you are doing it for a permanent method, so always make sure that you want to keep it for your lifelong. Of course, nowadays, there are various techniques through which even a permanent tattoo can be removed, but it's a costly affair and also it's a painful affair, and also there are a lot of side effects associated with it. Often it is surgically also removed, the skin, the layer of the skin is removed. All these things are there, and there are also certain solutions that will remove, but again, it has a lot of consequences of, getting cancer and various other things. So think before getting permanently tattooed. If you want for a temporary reason, for a temporary occasion, always it's better to have temporary tattoos, which are available in the form of stickers or something like that. And if you are a visual artist, the kind doesn't do a lot of erasing. And if you have been mulling over investing in a tattoo machine and using a few friends as guinea pigs, so this is an ideal time to start. But don't make your friends scapegoats for your hobby or interest. Some tattoos are just plain breathtaking. Others, like misspelled messages, can be quite humorous. So see what you can find in the form of body art. And there is also a black work that happens. The tattoo artist using black ink achieve lighter tones for shading their images by diluting the ink with distilled water. So we have these gray shades. And advances in technology have given that artist the ability to use super slim lines, aiding especially in the creation of portrait tattoos, especially with the, with the fine needles. Watercolor, that's so named because they replicate the splashes of color and shade gradations of the brush and paper kind, often fade because of the relatively small amounts of ink used to make them. This is, a kind of semi-permanent or a semi-temporary kind of tattoos. And the growing trend is of a new school tattoos, which are inspired by cartoons and anime and are not modern per se, is a resurgence of their popularity during 80s and 90s. And the meaning behind a red koi tattoo is love and energy, while a black koi represents the bearers having overcome a major challenge. So the body art is especially beautiful when an image and the human canvas achieve a certain synergy. Tattoos that approach perfection like that are the ones we can't stop looking at. It is inevitable. At some point in time, you will contemplate what image you would choose if you were to get ink. It's easy to while away hours imagining what design you want, whether it is a favorite comic, religious icon, Celtic knot, the possibilities are limitless. So, considering how deep and rich the history of tattooing is, there's always more to learn. Today is also commemorated as National Get Out of the Dog House Day in US, which is observed on the third Monday of every July. In the doghouse is an idiom that people, often men, uses to express that they are in trouble with their significant other. It is also used to describe being the cause of someone's anger. Basically, being in the doghouse is not where person wants to be. Everyone at some point in their life has faced anger, an emotional state that involves an uncomfortable response to a perceived provocation. People who experience anger often experience the physical effects of it, such as an accelerated heart rate, high blood pressure, and increased stress levels. Anger is a result of a person's conscious decision to respond to a particular situation. However, sometimes it is just human nature to instantly feel anger towards situations that are not pleasant. When our anger causes conflicts in relationships, it is also necessary to find a way to resolve and hope to work towards forgiveness. Keeping this in mind, a florist, Heidi Richards Mooney of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, founded National Get Out of the Doghouse Day in 1999 as a unique way to promote her business. One of the popular representations of being in the doghouse actually came from early 1900s Peter Pan novel that was written by J.M. Barrie. It is one of the chapters in which Mr. Darling goes out and sleeps in the dog's kennel as he is remorseful for not paying enough attention to his family and allowing his children to be kidnapped. In the early days, most dogs lived outside the house in kennels or dog houses. And if a person was being relegated to the outdoors, it meant something was wrong in the family communication. Thus, if you are facing some hardships with a loved one, so it is a day for a reprieve. Use this day to make amends and try to fix things. So the British movie In the Doghouse is released based on the concept of being in the doghouse in 1962. So what does it mean when someone is in the doghouse? It is a prepositional phrase that is often used to describe a situation in which one is the subject of the anger of the spouse or romantic partner. And one of the earliest references of being in the doghouse appears in the classic children's novel by J.M. Barrie, Peter Pan. So, forgive someone who is in the doghouse. Someone may be in the doghouse due to an argument they had with you for a fault of others. So use this day to forgive them, help them get out of doghouse so you both can lead a resentment-free life going forward. Apologize face to face. Fought with someone you care about recently. So this day can be a cue to apologize to them face to face, which adds a more personal touch rather than a written apology via letter, text, or email. Anger has a physical component. Tightness, contraction, and burning are some physical effects one can feel when we are angry. And perfectionists are angry. Perfectionists generally feel angrier than others because they always look for perfection. And not everyone will be able to perform in a perfect manner. And practicing forgiveness can give a great sense of empowerment. Forgiving people and letting go of anger are known to reduce stress and anxiety levels. Along with other health benefits, forgiving can also reduce blood pressure and promote a healthy life. And this day also encourages us to resolve our conflicts and anger that are causing problems in our relationships with our friends, family, or peers. It is a perfect opportunity to move past and work towards building a better relationship with the ones we create above. Many times it is difficult for us to accept that the fault that is causing the conflict may be ours. Sometimes days, weeks, or even years pass by in which we don't talk to someone we have the same anger towards. The resentment we hold towards someone can be easily resolved through communication and letting go. So this day enables reconciliation. Today is also commemorated at National Peach Ice Cream Day in US. All you have to do is prepare yourself to devour some of the best peach ice cream brands, or you can one make yourself. And this is celebrated or commemorated every year to honor and cherish the creation of delicious peach flavored ice cream that stole hearts of men. It is sweet, tangy, cold, and everything you need. Today is also commemorated as National Lottery Day in the US. Free money that seems rather appealing. So this day is a chance for everyone to try their luck and get involved, but don't take too much risks. Luck to be your lady tonight or today, as the case is National Lottery Day today. The concept of lottery has been there since ancient times. The practice became mainstream in the late 15th century. From then on, lotteries were used by private and public bodies to raise money for wars, towns, colleges, and community projects. Lotteries just seemed too good to be true as concerns rose regarding their harmful impact on the public. A constitutional provision was issued against lotteries, with the New York being the first state where it is implemented. After the Civil War ended, reconstruction in the southern states was dependent on lotteries. The Louisiana lottery especially became popular. It was abolished in 1894 after Congress banned the transport of lottery materials across state lines. Soon after, the public discovered that the lottery was being run by a crime syndicate that committed fraud and bribed legislatures. It was a massive scandal that was widely publicized. Lotteries gained a bad reputation and were completely outlawed by the end of the 19th century. The negatively sounding gambling started softening at the turn of 20th century, and gambling was legalized in casinos in the state of Nevada in 1930s, and gambling for charity also became common. Today is also commemorated as Marine Day in Japan. It aims to thank ocean for its bounty. Considering that Japan is a maritime nation, the country and its people are heavily dependent on the ocean. Many Japanese people make a trip to the beach and enjoy ocean-related festivities. called Umi no Hi, the date of Marine Day, also generally coincides with monsoons in mainland Japan. The date of the festival was moved around in 2020 and 2021 due to Tokyo Olympics. Marine Day is set to go back to the regular schedule. Marine Day, also known as Sea Day, is a day where the island country of Japan expresses its gratitude to the seas and oceans. Marine Day only became a national holiday in Japan in 1996. Since 2003, it has been observed on the third Monday of July. Before 1996, it was known as Marine Memorial Day and was not a federal holiday. Water is undeniably essential to our survival. As a result, we should be grateful for our oceans, lakes, and rivers. According to the studies, taking the time to consciously practice thankfulness can make us happy, reduce our blood pressure, and do other things. Japan is the world's only country with a public holiday dedicated to ocean's blessing. But in India, we have, every occasion, especially festivals and Purnima and Ekadashi and certain days are, almost every day, ocean and river bodies are worshipped. But, we, those so-called highly intellectual, highly educated fools, we don't understand the act of thanksgiving, and we, make fun of these events. Everyone expresses a different way, in a different way. So we should appreciate them in whatever way they express. But simply many of us, many of such people have contributed to the destruction and the polluted rivers because of their, propaganda. Today, rivers are not treated as sacred, and that they are used as bodies, or they are used as dump yards for pollution. And today people are drinking polluted water, and farmers are using polluted water to cultivate crops, and in turn, those crops, those outproduce of the crops are eaten by human beings and animals. It is all the karmic cycle that we are, more vulnerable to diseases. So today is also Korean Constitution Day in South Korea, to commemorate the creation of the Constitution of the Republic of Korea, and was declared national holiday in 1949. But since 2008, it has been no longer been a non-working day. Despite that, Constitution Day is still a national celebration day. There is a commemorative ceremony held at the National Assembly building. Citizens hang national flags. Even like marathons are often held to commemorate South Korean Constitution Day. So now we will quickly look at yesterday's commemorations, because we could not do it yesterday. We'll quickly take it up. In this, we have a few important commemorations like National Dress Syndrome Day, and Rural Transit Day, and Sone Sankrantri, and World Snake Day. So we'll start with World Snake Day, which aims to create awareness regarding over 3,500 snake species that exist across the world, which are known to us. Of course, there's a lots of snakes, but not all of them are scary or venomous as we believe them to be. These fascinating reptiles are often not given the recognition they deserve, but just because of the bad reputation they earned over the years. For instance, a friend who is a traitor is known as a snake. This day aims to change the negative perception surrounding snakes and promote the love for all beings, even the ones we fear. So the English word snake comes from Old English word snaka. The reptile is thought to have from the terrestrial lizards that existed around 174 million to 163 million years ago. In fact, Ephosus underwoodi, the oldest fossil snake, lived in England about 167 million years ago in the West. However, even before researchers learned about the numerous snake species, the reptile was mentioned in the ancient mythologies and also an integral part of various religions. For example, if we see for instance, in the Bible, Satan took form of a snake that existed in the Garden of Eden. And it is due to the snake that Eve was consumed the forbidden apple, and that was banished. So similarly, in many cultures and many religions also, snake was mentioned. According to Irish mythology, in the 5th century, St. Patrick went to a hilltop where he fasted for 40 days. So during this time, he was attacked by snakes. To protect himself, he waved his staff and expelled all the snakes of Ireland into the sea. This is why even today, Ireland is devoid of snakes. In other legend, the Chinese believe that there was once a white female snake demon who resided underwater. According to ancient Chinese myth, the demon took on a mortal form when she fell in love with a human and two later married to give birth to a boy. The twist in the plot is that the demon's identity was revealed by the Buddhist monk Fahai. The monk then trapped the snake demon under his lakeside pagoda. And folklore such as these often show snakes in a negative light and may be responsible for portraying them as evil beings. See, every religion, every belief system contributed to the bad reputation of the snakes. In fact, we have to blame these religions and belief systems for, imposing a bad reputation, bad image on snakes. But some religions and some cultures are also portrayed snakes as gods. If you take Hindu culture, Adishesha, the famous, you can see in Vishnu's, especially Lord Vishnu, you can see snake over the head of Lord Vishnu as Adishesha, as a 1,000-headed serpent, and is being treated as God and is, treated in various yugas and various ancient scriptures as, as a brother, as a son, as a, companion, as a friend. So snakes were worshipped as gods. Even they were worshipped as, vehicles of gods. And even we can see as a pets of gods, we can see Lord Shiva wearing a snake on his neck, and Lord Ganesha wearing snake as his waistband. And similarly, even snakes themselves as seen as Nagadevata. And so in various forms, that's why this Sanatana Dharma or Hindu religion, for that matter, sees divinity in everyone, everything, every aspect of the nature and environment. That's why, since billions and millions of years, the divinity, the nature was protected. When the forests were protected, animals were protected, even the nature, habitats, ecosystems were protected. But now, as there are other systems coming up, and they don't believe in all these things. They only are very concerned about, very selfish, mean about only human beings. They don't care about any other animals or plants. So that's how the destruction started, and we started destroying our own habitats. So that's how, snakes are have won so much of bad reputation, and they are being killed. But they are, very good predators, and they maintain ecosystems. Often we see, without snakes, we could have lost a lot of crop, especially in the fields, because snakes eat rats and mouse and all these rodents, and maintain and help in controlling these rodents population. Otherwise, imagine if there are rats or rodents or mice everywhere, what will happen? They will eat up all the crop, and and the snakes are also very good in sensing earthquakes and various other temperatures and various disasters in advance. If you see, snakes are moving fast, or there is a lot of snakes, creating some kind of activity. So you can sense that something is going to happen that place, because they are very sensitive, having sensory modalities. They can even sense the smallest of vibrations from earth and the temperature differences. So there are a lot of benefits from snakes, but they see no animal in the, except human being, no other species harms any other species wantedly, willingly, without any purpose. Only human beings are the species on the planet which harm, which inflict pain, which kill other species just for fun, or just for sake of killing, just for inflicting pain. But no other species, unless and until they are harmed, they are threatened, they don't harm other. Or because they are, most of them are carnivorous, some are herbivorous, some are carnivorous. So carnivorous, they eat only to meet their hunger. They don't just hunt for the sake of fun. And that too, they are very conscious, because that is also required. That nature has created so many animals, so many, plants. Because some animals are herbivorous. How they will survive? They will eat plants and survive. That's why so many plants are there. And also, there are carnivorous animals. How they will survive? They have to prey on some other animals. That's why this ecosystem is maintained. What happens if there is imbalance? Like you will see one species outgrowing, like human beings. Human beings has outgrown the entire species populations. Of course, they are in millions and millions, because they are minute and they are everywhere and almost so. Though human beings have not, but comparatively, if you see 8 billion population, that is more than 800 crore population. And today we have rarely even 25% of the natural resources left. And we will consume it very fast by 2030, or maximum by 2050, or by the end of 2050, all the resources will be over, finished. And at that time, we have to see what human beings are going to do. So there are various snakes, venomous snakes and non-venomous snakes. The colored snake, especially the rainbow snake, that lives in the streams and swamps in southern Maryland and eastern Virginia, are non-venomous. So no need to worry about them. And the black mamba bite is the deadliest. And this is the snake bite that kills the fastest. And the snake is also the fastest one in the world. And there are also many snakes even in India. In India is home to over 350 snake species out of 3,500 snake species across the world, which are known to us. There are many which are not known to humans. So this is a day to create awareness about the importance of snakes and their contribution to the ecosystem, environment, and also to the sustainable development. And it is also a day to visit a zoo to view a variety of snakes closely, or a reptile park where you can see different species that exist in your region. So that will help you to identify venomous or non-venomous snakes. And even there are certain uh, NGOs who are working to create awareness and also teaching how to handle the snake so that they can be left back into the forest. So use this day to bring non-venomous snake species to the forefront. All you have to do is make simple. You have to write an article on beautiful snakes that can't kill. That is, those are non-poisonous. So you can organize a contest where everyone gets to draw and paint snake species they love the most. And this session will prove educational while producing great works of art at the same time. So some interesting facts about snakes. Snakes doesn't have eyelids and sleep with their eyes open. Snakes have nostrils, but they smell with the chemicals picked up with their tongue. Since they can't bite or chew, snakes swallow their food whole. That's why you can see in various documentaries, the snake swallows entire prey, even human beings or buffaloes. You can see entire prey is swallowed, and snake twists itself and breaks the prey and kills the prey into, it crushes the bones and muscles into pieces. And that's how it digests, by rolling itself like in a simple way, like we wash clothes, we rinse the cloth to remove all the water. In a similar way, the snake itself moves body in such a position that it squeezes, crushes the prey and then digests it. So snakes are found everywhere except in Antarctica, because in that climate they can't survive. Snakes have around 1,200 bones. So you might be wondering, so snake whether might have any bones or not, but they have more bones. See, we human beings have around 300 plus bones, but snake have 1,200 bones. So like every other living creature on this planet, snakes are extremely important for the ecosystem. This means without snakes, a negative chain reaction for the environment may be triggered. That's why snakes are very essential, crucial, critical for the ecosystems. Snakes are hated across the world since they can be seen as creatures that kill. However, not all snakes are dangerous, neither do they observe to be hated or deserve to be hated and slaughtered. This day also promotes rights of snakes and show how we can all coexist in harmony. Numerous snake species are declining due to climate change and deforestation. Some species are killed for their skins to create fashion items. Thousands of people make an effort to promote the preservation of endangered snakes. So be part of it. So July 16th is also commemorated as Sone Sankranti. In Nepal, people from many caste and ethnic groups who practice various religions reside in this country with its own culture and traditions. So Nepalese festivals can be divided into three categories: religious celebrations, social gatherings, and national holidays. Nepal is separated into three geographic regions: mountains, hills, and terrain. Each of these geographical regions observes a unique set of religious festivals. So on Sone Sankranti, the first day of the month of Shravan, Hindu worshippers flock to Shiva temples to do special pujas. The main ritual on this day is Shiva Abhishekam, Palabhishekam. The sun enters the sign of Cancer as Shravan Sankranti. Worshipping Lord Shiva is considered important during Shravan. It is Shravan Mas. According to Nepalese custom, it is a month of cleansing and eradicating dirt. Nepalese people worship and beat Nonglo, massive bamboo plates to cure diseases such as eczema. The mythology has it that Samudram Manthan, the churning of the oceans, occurred in the month of Shravan. During the Samudra Manthan, 14 different sorts of rubies appeared, 13 of which were distributed among the demons, leaving one type known as halal poison. Lord Shiva arrived to save the day, drank the halal and stored it in his neck. His throat turned blue as a result of poison, gaining him the moniker Nilkanta, meaning blue throat. Lord Shiva donned the crescent moon on his head to lessen the potency of the poison. Following that, all gods began to offer Ganges water to Lord Shiva to mitigate the effects of poison. Since then, Shiva worshippers have offered Ganges water to Shravan in the hope of gaining a large amount of punya. During Shravan, devotees can do the following: Rudrabhishek, fasting on Mondays, wearing Rudraksha and reciting Shiva Chalisa and Aarti. So according to Nepal Mahatmaya and Himvat Kanda, the deity known as Pashupati earned an immense reputation, and the existence of Pashupatinath temple can be traced back to the almost 4000 AD and earlier, which seems to be the oldest Hindu temple. And the Vaishnavam group is the largest, accounting for 641 million Hindus with 67.6%. So let's honor these Nepalese culture and traditions and commemorate. And today is also commemorated as a Rural Transit Day in US. The National Rural Transit Assistance Program, established in 2019, focuses on what transit agencies are doing to recognize passengers and staff. There are contests and chats on Twitter where users share their thoughts about the benefits, challenges, and solutions in rural transit. Agencies are also encouraged to take the Rural Transit Day pledge to show their commitment to cause and recognize the rural transit heroes working with them. Since 1979, the Federal Transit Administration has provided states with formula funding to establish and maintain transit systems in communities with populations under 50,000. However, they soon realized that providing quality service required particular skills and knowledge from the community transit drivers, dispatchers, maintenance workers, managers, and board members. Thus, in 1986, the Congress authorized the creation of the National RTAP for this purpose under Section 16 of the Surface Transportation Act, and it began operating on July 1st, 1987. So since then, they have developed and distributed training materials, provided technical assistance, created web-based applications, produced reports, published best practices, conducted research, and offered peer assistance for rural and tribal transit providers and state RTAP programs. So this program aimed to improve the quality of training and technical assistance resources available to the industry, as well as to encourage and assist state, local, and peer networks to address training and technical assistance needs, promoting the coordination of transportation services and building a national database of industry data. So July 16th is also commemorated as National Dress Syndrome Day. DRESS is an acronym which is called Drug-Induced Hypersensitivity Syndrome. or drug hypersensitivity syndrome, and is the focal point for National DRUS Syndrome Day, as DRUS full form is drug reaction with eosinophilia and systematic symptoms, which is a type of drug allergy that causes very adverse reactions to drugs in some people. So this day was founded on the premise that because of this special day, more patients, doctors, researchers, and others will be able to honor and celebrate the ones who lost to this illness. There's also the advantage of educating the general public about the disease for faster and better treatment. When humans' immune system reacts badly to certain medications, the body exhibits different, often serious reactions. This type of effect is the base of the DRUS syndrome, and medical experts believe it is potentially life-threatening because of its severe nature. Knowledge of this syndrome has been seen reported very late in comparison to other diseases and is yet lacking in research. The first reported cases of hypersensitivity to drugs came only in the 1930s. Some patients were given anticonvulsant drugs meant to prevent seizures or stop an ongoing episode, and the introduction of these drugs led to some adverse reactions. The same reaction was observed again in 1940s when a new drug to treat swollen lymph nodes was given to a few patients. The new drug was combined with an anticonvulsant drug, which resulted in development of rashes, fever, and other reactions. Medical professionals coined a name for this hypersensitivity, anticonvulsant hypersensitivity syndrome, after believing it was only anticonvulsants that trigger this kind of reaction. Eventually, however, doctors noticed multiple other drugs, not just anticonvulsants, induce adverse reactions, and the term changed again. This time they called it drug-induced hypersensitivity or hypersensitivity syndrome. The name subsequently changed according to the drug at fault, becoming allopurinol hypersensitivity syndrome and sulfone syndrome, etc. The current term DRUS was coined only in the late 1990s after a group of researchers observed a series of 24 patients and their reactions to clinical drugs. They decided on a common name for this hypersensitivity to avoid confusion while diagnosing patients. So research on this disease has been sporadic given its uncommon nature. Few people get it and fewer report it. Research on this disease has been sporadic and infrequent, probably why a special day was established to raise awareness and encourage more studies on the illness. Today is also July 16th is also commemorated as National Cherry Day in UK and US, which are range from sweet to tart. They come in shades ranging from red to yellow, and you can create a wide variety of fishes, desserts, and drinks with them. So we can't blame George Washington for allegedly chopping down that cherry tree. Today, the US cherry industry produces more than 650 million pounds of tart and sweet cherries each year. So today is also, July 16th is also commemorated as National Wedding Invitation Day, to give wedding invitation card designers to their due because they elevate the beauty of wedding, and it's all about appreciating and cherishing the beautifully crafted wedding gift on this special day. So this day, July 16th, is also commemorated as National Personal Chef Day, to honor relentless hard work and efforts of personal chefs that can range from standing for long hours every day to going shopping for ingredients, to taking care of special cravings and or dietary restrictions. So the National Personal Chef Day was created by the United States Personal Chef Association, in short known as USPCA, and has been a growing demand for professional and personal chefs. And this association was established since then. The USPCA is known for being the ultimate place to research and hire perfect personal chefs. Today is also commemorated as, July 16th is commemorated as Atomic Veterans Day, called upon all Americans. The president has proclaimed it on July 16, 2021, and called upon all Americans to observe the day with appropriate ceremonies and activities that honor the veterans, atomic veterans. So President Biden signed legislation into law to recognize atomic veterans as part of the National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2022. The legislation also requires the president to issue a proclamation every year calling on the United States to observe the National Atomic Veterans Day. Today, July 16th is also commemorated as Guinea Pig Appreciation Day, to pay tribute to these cuddly, lovable pets that stole the hearts of thousands of people. These furballs are friendly pocket pets that can prove to be one of the best companions if treated right. These pets are super social too. If you haven't ever had the chance to spend a day with guinea pig, now it's time to give it a shot. We assure you the experience will be memorable. Get in touch with an animal shelter rescue in your area to learn about these huggable creatures. So guinea pigs are species of rodents, that is mice, rats, and all those that are adopted as pets due to their domesticated nature and cute appearance. However, guinea pigs were not always kept in homes. They were originally seen as livestock and their meat was consumed by people. Said to have originated from Andes mountains of Peru, the animals were initially wild and had to be trained. Though they were eaten by people, guinea pigs were also depicted in the folk art and handicrafts created between 500 BC and 500 AD. Since such an July 16th is also commemorated as Fresh Spinach Day. Spinach can boost your health from improving bone health to lowering risk of cancer. And Fresh Spinach Day reminds us to add this healthy leafy vegetable to your meals or smoothies: creamed spinach, spinach dip, sorted spinach, green smoothie, anything. Spinach is rich in nutrients, raw or cooked. If you consume raw spinach, you'll likely absorb more folate, niacin, potassium, riboflavin, and vitamin C. Raw spinach is packed with fiber and water, and since raw spinach is quite flavorless, it is easier to blend with sweet smoothies. When it comes to cooked spinach, you'll likely absorb more of the iron and calcium that it provides. Besides, the amounts of vitamin A and E in cooked spinach are increased. So whether consumed raw or cooked food. The 16th is also commemorated as National Ice Cream Day in US. And 16th is also commemorated as National Corn Fritter Day. As high summer is the peak season for delicious corn. And we love eating corn in all ways: cornbread, corn salad, corn hash, corn on the cob, slaughtered in butter. But one of the very favorites is crispy golden brown corn fritters. A fritter is a dish where some ingredient like fruit, vegetables, seafood, or anything that is mixed with batter and fried. Corn fritters originated as a dish in South, but now can be found in menus throughout the country. The traditional version includes a plain batter and corn, but you can find all sorts of variations out there. Just try green. So pour your glass of iced tea, sit back, and let's. So corn fritters are made out of ingredients you most likely already you have in your pantry: flour, baking powder, milk, and butter. Mix them together, stir in some corn, fresh canned or frozen, and fry them up in hot oil. You could even make a whole dinner party out of it and serve alongside a bunch of other southern inspired dishes. So if you have a farm, pick your own farm near you that grows corn and get lost in the cornfields. Today is also commemorated as Artificial Intelligence Appreciation Day on July 16th every year. With discoveries in science, technology, and healthcare, AI offers the possibility of more evolved future. AI tools already dominate the market, making human life much easier. From travel and navigation to smartphone apps, AI have taken the world by storm and looks set to change the future. Although many believe that AI So Artificial Intelligence Appreciation Day was created to celebrate the history and accomplishments of AI tech and raise awareness about its current and future. So artificial intelligence is influencing the future of almost every sector and every person on the planet. It has acted as the driving force behind developing technologies such as big data, robots, and the Internet of Things, as it will continue to do so for foreseeable future. There are several AI tools available with easy access, from smart cars to video and music streaming. Use these tools to accelerate the power of AI. So with this, we shall conclude the commemorations for the day. Thank you everyone for joining us. And registration form is being shared in the chat box. Those who have not registered that had joined directly are requested to fill up the feedback form. So the feedback form has been raised in the form of polls. We request everyone to quickly fill up the feedback form. It is mandatory for your certificates. And for yesterday and day before yesterday, 2 days international conference, we have circulated feedback form to your email IDs. We request everyone, those who have attended, to quickly fill up the feedback form, and those who have not registered to register for the conference so that you will be eligible for the conference. We request everyone to quickly fill up the feedback form and submit before leaving. So thank you everyone for joining us. See you all tomorrow at 6 o'clock. Take care. Good night. Dear friends, quickly fill the feedback form and submit, which has been raised in the form of polls. So see you all tomorrow. Take care. Good night.